This is the Five Lights Podcast. Yes, it is the... This is the Five Lights Podcast. Yes, it is. Episode 2 of the Five Lights Podcast. Oh, we are so close to Melbourne. It is so close. Oh, they had the drivers' press conferences today. We're recording this on Thursday. Oh, man, it's so close. I am Dan Herrick, the host of the Five Lights Podcast. I'll introduce you to my good friend and my brother in a minute, who's my co-host. In this episode, we'll be looking forward to the first race of the season. We've got a little bit of news to get through, and as you can hear, we have an intro. How cool is that? Let us know if you like it, courtesy of our friends over at bensound.com. So without further ado, let's get into it! So, as I said, I am the host, Dan Herrick. I am now going to introduce you to my brother, my friend, my compadre, Ben. Ben, how you doing?
I'm good, bro. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm good. I got home from work today, I switched on the telly and I started watching some of the drivers' press conferences.
I was watching that at about 7 o'clock this morning. I was watching that.
That's some good drills right there. That's
Committed.
Some good drills.
I'll be up at 6:30 tomorrow to watch FP1 as well before I go to work.
Oh man, I might have to join you on that one. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. We are so close to the first race of the season in Melbourne, but we're going to get into a race preview in a moment. We've got a few things to get through first, including some news. Ben, take it away.
Yeah, and there's been quite a bit of news since the last podcast. The main news, really, that's dominated the F1 world is the court case from Van der Garde. He obviously, as we mentioned in the last podcast, was suing Sauber F1 because he believed he had a valid contract to race for Sauber this season. Since we last recorded, the case was originally heard in Melbourne on Monday morning, which was successful, and the court ruled that Van der Garde had the right to race for Sauber, not just for Melbourne, but the entire 2015 season. Sauber lodged an appeal, which took place this morning, actually, and which was also unsuccessful. And the court said on that really, that Van der Garde's got a race for the 2015 season, and Sauber should do nothing to obstruct him. And
this is a mess, right? I mean, I read a column by Andrew Benson from BBC Sport, and he sort of highlighted something to me which is just made me think this is not a mess even more. Is the fact that Sauber is headed up by a lawyer. So how does a lawyer sign 3 drivers to a 2-car team? Do you think maybe they were sort of getting to the end of last season and thinking, well, they're talking about a 3-car team. Should we maybe get ready for that and sign 3 drivers? What on earth were they thinking?
Well, technically, they actually had 4 drivers signed because they had Adrian Sutil as well. I'm not entirely sure what his contract was, Sutil's, but obviously he's not in F1 at all this season. But yeah, Sauber got no sympathy. A lot of people are saying that they have sympathy for all parties involved. I've got no sympathy for Sauber. They obviously knew that they had a contract with Van der Garde, and they went and signed 2 new drivers anyway, so it's a big lose-lose for Sauber, really. They've got to race Van der Garde this weekend, and they've got to bin one other driver, which is probably, in my opinion, going to be Ericsson, because 1, Nazir probably brings the most money, and 2, the car is painted in the colours of his sponsor, so it would be a bit weird if we had Ericsson's money, Van der Garde's contract, and Nazir's ex-sponsor colour in the car, so that could be quite difficult.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy one for him. But I mean, Manisha Kaltenbaum, she's still fighting it. Sauber is still fighting this, saying they can't race. The excuse they've come up with is that it's not safe to let him race because he's not driven the car before. The car's not set up for him. But Jenson Button's come out, as Jenson does, and he's very honest, and he just said, well, it's a little bit disappointing that she said that, but there is no reason why Guido van der Garde couldn't race this weekend. And as you said, I think the rumours flying around it will be Ericsson that steps aside if indeed they do put Guido in the seat. But it's Australia, man. It always throws up these, whether it's blown diffusers or whether it's disqualifications after the race. It's the beginning of the season. It's beginning of the season frenzy.
It's why we love F1. You've got the on-track action, the racing, and then you've got the off-track drama and news. That's why we love F1. That's why I love F1. But going back to this news, Sauber it's got even worse for them because they're going to have to cut a driver, as we mentioned, and then who's to say they're not going to lodge their appeal and sue Sauber because they've had their contract terminated? So who knows what's going to happen? And as you said with Button, saying that it's complete nonsense, safety is an issue. We mentioned in the last podcast, and as Button mentioned as well, what's the difference between Manor's new drivers? They haven't driven probably an F1 car at all, so for more than on 3 occasions. So that holds no water, that comment. And then they had the comment about the race, the seat fitting, which again holds no water. That can be done fairly quickly, or at least by the Malaysian Grand Prix. And then the new news today for this was that Van der Garde doesn't currently hold a valid super license with the FIA.
But he's going to get that. He's already said he'd come out and said he can get that within 2 days, so they'll push that through.
The FIA have said this is not a problem. We can sign him a temporary license, and then obviously he'll have the full license by Malaysia. So Sauber up a certain creek without a paddle.
It's a mess, and it's not one that's going to go away quietly. It's going to be very interesting to watch that unravel and develop. Needless to say, Sauber are in trouble, so we'll keep an eye on that one. But let's go on to the next bit of news, Ben.
Yep. Also, as we mentioned in the last podcast, during the news was Alonso won't be driving this weekend. Just really to update you, there was an article on BBC F1 Sport by Flavio Briatore, who's actually Fernando's manager, and as we mentioned in the news on the last podcast, I said that Fernando believed he was in the year 1995 and said that he was still racing karts and wanted to be a Formula 1 driver.
I think we all still wish it was 1995. I mean, it was a great year. Some great music in 1995.
Well, it depends on when in the year it was, because I was born in April, so depending on when and what month you thought it was, then I could probably agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
But that was as per Spanish reports, and Flavio has completely rubbished these reports and said it's not true whatsoever. He did suffer memory loss, but I don't think to that extent, or that wasn't what he said at the scene of the incident. So,
well, there's a lot of things coming out of this, and I read again on BBC Sport again this afternoon that a lot of insiders who have seen the CCTV footage said it's an odd accident as he appears to sort of steer towards the wall.
Yes.
So it's they're just someone somewhere. I mean, again, McLaren have also put together a near 40-page document which they've given to the FIA explaining what happened from their side to clear themselves of all technical fault. But so it's firmly placing the blame really at Alonso's door. So it's either for me it's either a medical issue with Alonso or that's all it can be really. It's because Alonso wouldn't just steer into the wall. They just need to come out and say it. They just need to come out and say what's
McLaren still have to confirm why the accident actually happened, whether it was a steering problem or not. As you say, we still don't know anything. It's been the most bizarre news of the winter that we've probably ever had, along in my memory anyway. It's very bizarre. As you said, why can't they just come out, explain it, it's done, we then can move on as well and take the positives from it.
Speaking of moving on, let's move on to the next piece of news then, Ben.
Yep. Again, in the last news, we mentioned that Manor Marussia will be racing in Melbourne, and Will Stevens is going to be their driver. We now also know that Robert Merhi, I think that's how you pronounce his name. If not, I'm sorry, Roberto Merhi.
I think it's Merhi because it's Spanish, so you have to say it with a little bit
Roberto
of accent. Roberto Merhi.
Thank you very much. See, pronunciation's poor, even though I speak partially another language. But he's going to be driving alongside Will Stevens, but only for the opening races. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there.
Yeah, maybe it's another thing to say.
Maybe Marcus Ericsson's going to be the next Manor driver. Who knows what's going to happen there? But that's just an update. That happened the day after the podcast was recorded last. So as we predicted it would.
Yeah, and Jordan King's joined them as well, hasn't he? Jordan King's joined as test driver, who is the son of the ex-Sainsbury's CEO who bailed them out. So he's in there as well. So maybe because Justin King is the son of the Marussia saviour, maybe it's him who's going to get a seat later on down the line as part of the deal to bring Mana Marussia out of administration.
Most possibly, but I also know that King is going to be racing in, I think, GP3.
That's correct.
Or Formula 3.5. I'm sorry, I think it is. He's going to be
GP2. He'll be doing
GP2. Sorry.
Yeah, GP2.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So I don't know if that's contract set in stone or what's happening there. But yeah, you're possibly right. It probably is going to be set up for him. And what happens to Roberto Mehi, we don't know. And
don't know much.
I presume opening races is the first 4 flyaway races before the European part of the calendar as well. That's my presumption.
See, I don't know much about Merhi, who's from Formula Renault 3.5, isn't he? Don't know much about him, but I think if Justin King doesn't race this year, I think it's definitely setting him up for a drive next year if Marussia is still about and still on the grid. I think that's the way that's looking at the minute.
Yeah, I think Roberto Mehi had a few FP1 sessions with Caterham last season. I think Spa was one of them. So he's had a bit of experience in F1, but not as much as Guido van der Garde, who's apparently unsafe. So.
Yeah, well, there you go. So let's just wrap up with two very quick bits of news then, Benj.
Yep, Lewis Hamilton, as we discussed, is in the final stages of agreeing his new deal. Toto Wolff came out this morning and said that the contract now is just down to the details, and it's just the lawyers of both parties currently finalising that deal. And Hamilton said he didn't really enjoy the experience of negotiating his own contract, and he probably won't do it again. So I think that's a lesson learned for Lewis there.
Pay the man, just pay the man. Let's put pen to paper and get that one signed up, and then we can sort of just get on with the racing and get on with the good bits. And then the final bit of news, then Benj, let's call it the penultimate bit of news.
Penultimate bit of news, yeah, is I presume you're talking about the Haas F1 team.
Yeah.
Who have confirmed that they have purchased Marussia's old Banbury base, which is going to be there pretty much for logistical purposes, with their main base being in North Carolina. They've also made some hires as well. They've appointed Dave O'Neill as team manager, Rob Taylor as chief designer, and you're going to have to help me again on this one, Dan. It's Ben
Agathaneglu, I think.
Yeah, I'll leave you to say that.
Or Ben Agathaneglu. We'll just call him Ben. Let's just call
Ben.
It's
Ben number 2,
Aggie.
obviously.
Ben Aggie.
Yeah, Ben Aggie is going to be the chief aerodynamicist. And obviously their team principal is Gunther Steiner.
Gunther Steiner.
Which is a very good name.
It's a good strong name. He's got some pedigree though, old Ben. He's come from Ferrari, so some good pedigree there. And the final bit of news, some wind news.
Some wind news indeed from Christian Horner, who's suggesting banning wind tunnels as a possible measure to save costs in Formula 1. I think he did realise that it is a very extreme way and it won't be very popular. But as he's also said, just changing the design of wheel nuts and certain tiny bits of the car isn't really going to save big bucks. So, maybe they do, ban wind tunnels, save a bit of money, and then it leaves a bit of ingenuity for engineers to design their own cars freely. And
they can do sort of some of the wind tunnel work on computers now anyway, can't they, with these sort of high-tech programs? But I can't see it myself. I really can't see it. I think they will. They'll boycott that and they'll keep wind tunnels. So that's the news anyway, Benj. So we've wrapped up the news. Let's get into our next feature. But before we do that, we just want to send over a big shout out to our friends over at Badger GP. You may have heard of Badger GP. If not, then you should have. They're on Twitter at Badger GP. They're on Facebook, and their website is badgergp.com. Me and Ben have started our own Five Lights podcast league on their fantasy site. They do fantasy F1. You pick 3 drivers, you pick 3 cars, you stay under the £75 million salary cap, and you have to balance it, and then they give points through the season, and there's a league, and it's fun, and it's a different way of looking at Formula 1, and you can keep an eye on cars at the back of the track. So head on over to Badger GP, sign up for the Fantasy League and Fantasy Formula 1, and then find our league, and we'll give you the code if you send us a message on Twitter or Facebook at 5 Lights Pod. And then also their website is full of the latest news from Formula One. It's a great source of articles and news pieces. It's just generally a great website. It's generally a really good website. Head on over there, read up some stuff, join the Fantasy League, follow them on Twitter, follow them on Facebook, send them a birthday card, wish them Merry Christmas and all that good stuff. So yeah, over badgergp.com. That's badgergp.com. Moving on to our next piece, we're just going to break down quickly the new rules for the 2015 season. So Ben, if you want to get us underway and just quickly go over the new changes.
Yeah, all we're going to explain here is the new rules, not every single rule, because we'll be here until next season. So it's just going to be the things that have changed over the winter. And we're going to start with a nice simple one, which we did actually mention on Monday's podcast, is double points, hallelujah, has been scrapped.
Woohoo!
So we don't have to worry about that anymore. But new introductions for this year, which was also kind of slightly introduced at the end of last year, was the virtual safety car, which is only going to be used when it's deemed that the track or officials may be in danger, and it doesn't warrant the use of the actual safety car itself. So it's kind of an intermediate safety car.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea, especially in the wake of what happened with Jules Bianchi last year. As Martin Brundle said in his piece for Sky Sports F1 after that, drivers don't always slow down for yellow flags. So to take the control away from them is I think it's only a good thing for safety, isn't it?
Yeah. So the drivers are going to have to follow a set of sector times, and they're going to have to be within 2 designated times in that sector. And I believe they'll probably get a warning or some kind of message from their team and the FIA saying slow down, speed up, etc. on that one. Also, still regarding the safety car, what if there is a safety car that comes out? The safety car will now pit once the last car has lapped. The last lapped car has been passed. Sorry on that one. Rather than waiting for the lap cars to chase round and catch up the pack, they're going to be falling back now. So that's a lot better.
Good, yeah. It takes too long. Obviously we like it. Well, depending on the accident, but a safety car can really mix up a race and then have to wait for all those lap cars. I don't even think they should let them pass. I think it should be just a simple case of the safety car comes out and whatever order you're in, that's where we restart. And that would really make the restart from a safety car, epic, wouldn't it? It'd be really good.
Completely agree with you there, yeah, definitely. It will mix things up and it will just create that a little bit extra spice. And yeah, that's what we prefer to see rather than wasting laps.
So let's go on to the engine manufacturers then, who will be allowed to develop their engines beyond February 28th.
Yep, so Ferrari, I believe, managed to find a loophole in this year's regulations. They said that there was her homologation, but there was no deadline. So
nice homologation.
Homologation, yeah.
Nice.
Homologation.
Ben Agathanoglu
and Roberto Mehi.
We're bilingual.
Yes, very. Yes, so there is no set date. So all teams can now develop and use 36 tokens for their unit throughout the season. There is an exception for Honda, who have a homologation date of the 28th of February, where by that date, I think it's the average amount of tokens teams have used. The average amount of tokens that teams have used, that average is what Honda can use as their tokens. So they don't get the full 36. So that's probably a bit complex. Sorry if we didn't make that wasn't clear, but I don't even know how many tokens teams have used. So at the moment,
more on that though. Do you think they're actual physical tokens? Do you think they have like a bag of gold coins or something that they have to go and hand?
I believe it is a bit like Mario Kart, where they have to go around and they have to collect tokens as they go through, and the maximum you can get is 36.
Of course.
And then they spend those tokens on making the tyres with more grooves, and then they put a new decal on the helmet or something like that. And that's probably what Vettel would do.
Like unlockables in any sort of game.
Yes.
Cool. Nice.
So that's my understanding of it anyway.
Of course. And there's only going to be 4 power units to last this season.
Only 4 this season, yeah. Which, by the looks of pre-season testing, won't be much of a struggle for teams. They seem to be quite reliable. The only person it is going to be a problem with is Honda, who I think actually used 4 over the course of winter testing. So,
they did.
Oops for them.
Ouch. And there's going to be the replacement of an entire power unit will no longer result in a pit lane start either.
Yeah, we might probably discuss this in further depth as they happen during the season, probably towards the end of the season. But if there isn't a replacement of an entire power unit, it won't result in a pit lane start. There's going to be certain penalties for certain components and grid penalties rather than starting the pit lane. So it's probably a bit better than making them start from the pit lane. It still keeps all the cars starting on the grid, and they'll probably just move back on the grid or get a time penalty at the end. So each their own. I'm not sure what's the best on that, but that's just a new rule for this year.
So let's go through some of the penalties that drivers will incur throughout the season.
Yep. So there's now going to be a 10-second stop and go penalty, which can be served before a pit stop is carried out. There's also going to be a 5-second stop and go penalty, which I think was slightly introduced last year. If the penalty is imposed in the final 3 laps but isn't taken, 30 seconds will be then added to the driver's race time. So that's the only kind of, along with the power unit as well, that's the only real changes to penalties really this season.
And Parc Fermé now starts at the beginning of Q1.
Yep.
Which I think it's a good thing. I think that's a good positive change.
Yeah, I think it was the end of Q3 before, so yeah, it's kind of that's what you got. Stick to it. So
deal with it.
Yeah, you made your bed, now you got to lie in it. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that one as well.
And one that's the last sort of the big change is on Fat Boys.
Fat Boys or Tall Boys. The minimum weight of the 2015 cars has been increased slightly to 702 kilos without fuel. It was 701 kilos last year, so a whopping 1 kilo increase on last
everything.
year. So that's probably
everything.
about a tenth of me, maybe. So,
You wish.
I wish. So that's the only change regarding weight.
And you can apply for your super license now, Ben, as well. Now you're over 18.
I can, but Max Verstappen, if he wasn't a Formula 1 driver, couldn't. It will apply from 2016. Sorry, go on.
No, I just think I'll let you finish and then I'll come in. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting excited.
So excited.
Australia's so close away, so close.
Less than 24 hours. It will apply. The super license will apply from 2016. The changes will mean drivers must be aged 18 or over. Sorry, Max Verstappen, and have completed at least 2 years in junior formula. Both of those criteria Max Verstappen has not met so far in his life.
Well, I'm over 18 and I have done at least 2 years worth of karting, so I think I could get in there. So Sauber, if you want to sign another driver for no reason, give me a call. I've done go-karting before. I'm over 18. You like to sign drivers left, right, and centre? Sign me up. I'll drive your car next year. I'll drive your car.
I'm over 18. Driven for 2 years. But I'm just over the weight limit for the cars, maybe next year I'll trim down a bit.
Maybe trucks for you. Maybe trucks.
Formula 1 trucks.
Right, so that's the rule changes. I say, as Ben mentioned there, if they come up in the season, we'll go over them in a little bit more depth, and maybe there'll be talking points, and we can go over that as and when. But now, Ben, is the most exciting part. The first race of the season, as you said, is less than 24 hours away. First practice. You'll probably be listening to this in your car if you've downloaded it, because it should be ready for tomorrow morning, fingers crossed. You will be downloading this and listening to it after first practice has taken place. Oh, it's so exciting! And Australia is one of the greatest Grand Prix on the circuit. So, the Australian Grand Prix bench, let's get into it. Let's preview it. I'm just going to run down a few facts about the Australian Grand Prix. It is 58 laps. It is 307.574 kilometres, or 191.11 miles. The tyre compounds are going to be soft and medium. There are 16 turns on this delightful track. 2 DRS zones, the pit straight and between turns 2 and 3. Qualifying will be at 6 o'clock in the morning, so get your alarm clocks set. The race will be 5 o'clock in the morning. Well worth it, well worth getting up for. There's a 10% chance of rain. I can't remember the last time it rained in Australia, can you?
I think qualifying last year was wet.
Oh yeah, of
I
course.
believe so. But yeah, I think this year, this weekend, it's a clear weekend. Saturday's going to be a scorcher. But yeah, 10% chance of rain on Sunday, so it's probably just going to be cloudy and slightly cooler.
I love this next fact you give me. 48% chance of a safety car.
Yes.
Wow. Wow, so they must have done an average of how many races there've been and worked it out that way. But
there was none last year though.
No, there is quite a high crash. There is quite a high attrition.
Temporary street circuit. I mean, there was the crash first opening lap last year with Kamui where he decided to not take turn 1 and just go into the back of Massa.
This is true.
But
8 out of 9 races have been won from pole. It's a high fuel consumption and brake wear due to stop-start nature. This is Ben's facts he's giving me. This is how in depth Ben looks at this sort of thing. He lives and breathes this stuff.
I do.
It's high downforce and stiff suspension required due to lack of. Do you want a job in a Formula 1 team? Is this?
That's the hope, really. That's the dream every day.
You're almost giving me tactics here. Low grip at start of weekend due to being a temporary circuit. Of course, because it's a street circuit, so the grip needs to build up over the weekend. But
you did say you want to drive for Sauber this weekend or this season. So
are you volunteering to be my race engineer?
I could be your race engineer / manager.
We'd make a good team.
Yeah,
we'd make a good team.
But of course, we'll still do the podcast in between races, so don't worry, everyone.
Of course, don't worry. So anyway, I've given you the facts. Let's get into the race then, Benj. It's one of my favourite races of the year. It's such a good track. Always throws up drama, whether it's because it's the first race of the season, there's always drama about, or just because it is such a great track. So many high-speed turns, so many overtaking opportunities as well, which we don't see in many tracks. How do you see it panning out?
I think, it's as you say, it's one of the great races of the year. Opening race. I don't think it's going to be a true representation of what happens in terms of the pecking order throughout the year. As we saw last year, McLaren finished 2 and 3 after disqualification of Ricciardo, and that never happened again. Far from it. But it's really good circuit. Very challenging. Drivers seem to love it, and it's the race distance. It's how many cars. I know we're going to get to predictions later, but how many cars do you think are going to finish on Sunday? There's 20 cars now with Manor. So how many do you think will finish?
I think we'll lose 6. I think we'll lose both McLarens at some point.
Yeah.
I really fear that we'll lose both McLarens. Funnily enough, I don't think we'll lose both Force Indias. I think we may lose one, but I think one will go the distance because they've proved quite reliable, and I always put 3 aside for crashes in Australia. I always put 3 because there's always a tangle in Australia somewhere or another, and it's always usually at the front as well. It's not usually the back markers at tangle. It's always usually at the front where you see the accident.
And I think it's very either early on in the race or very late in the race as well. Yeah.
I
think definitely McLaren, maybe Marussia will. Well, it remains to be seen if they can even make the 107% rule. Whether they can qualify. Same for McLaren as well, probably. If they can't run, then they can't prove they've done 107% lap time. So that's 4 cars gone, plus 3 or 4 for crashes. So I think you're right, probably 16, 14 is what we're going to be looking at. But no, really, really looking forward to it. I'll be up watching them live, no question about that.
And talking about getting up early, we're going to do this thing throughout the season. We want you to send us your Grand Prix selfie. We'll try and come up with a better name. If you've got a better name, send us it in and we'll change the name. But like GP selfie or something like that. Tweet us or Facebook us your pictures of you watching the Grand Prix, especially the early morning. We want to see those tired faces getting up at 5 in the morning or even earlier if you're going to watch the build-ups and stuff like that. Just send us those in because we'd love to see them. We'll be tweeting pictures of us. I usually sit there in my dressing gown for the early ones. So you'll get some ladies.
In your bowler hat.
So just watch out for that one. In my dressing gown with my toast and a cup of tea and my iPad and all that. So send us your pictures of your early starts, and we'll do that throughout the season. We'll create some sort of gallery somewhere probably. Going back to the Australian Grand Prix though. as I say, it's a historic race. It's a great race. What are your sort of takeaway moments from previous Grand Prix? I always remember Mark Webber when he drove for Minardi, picking up those points in his first race. That always sticks with me, and how happy he was with being a home driver. I remember Kubica tangling. I can't remember who it was with though. I think it might have been Webber or a Ferrari driver. But anyway, he tangled like on the penultimate lap, and he was due to get like second place. That sticks with me. And obviously there's been some huge accidents in Melbourne. The Villeneuve accident sticks with me, and that was obviously a terrible accident resulting in the loss of life of one of the stewards there. And the huge Martin Brundle, you'll be too young to remember this one, Benji, but the huge Martin Brundle accident as well that took place at Melbourne.
I think it was in his camel, not on his camel. But
no, he wasn't on a camel.
No, but is his camel sponsored? I can't remember the name of the team.
Was it Lotus? I think it was Lotus.
We'll just say we'll go with camel for now. A yellow camel. I've seen clips of it, I believe. Yeah.
But yeah, that was a bad accident. But what are your sort of takeaways then from Australia from the past?
Well, as this podcast goes on, you'll begin to learn that my memory's poor. I've been asleep since then, so I can barely remember what I did yesterday. But for me, when I really started watching Formula 1 was 2007, which was Lewis Hamilton's debut year, and when he made up all those places in his McLaren on the opening lap, that was pretty impressive, and that's why I'm kind of a big Lewis Hamilton fan, or fangirl if you want.
Fangirl?
But yeah, the first corner brings a lot of drama on the opening lap. There's a lot of accidents or a lot of overtaking, and it's that build-up you've been waiting all winter. Who's going to do what? Who's going to win? Who's going to overtake? It's just all that tension into one, and then that excitement from that first corner. It's amazing. But last year was a really good race, and apart from for Lewis Hamilton, who obviously qualified on pole and then had to retire because of some £2 tube that broke on his car. But we saw some good racing, especially last year from Bottas, who raced through the field, crashed, and then came all the way back and took over everyone again. So yeah, I'm not great on the history, but I can probably tell you what happened last year.
Well,
I'm really looking forward to this year.
It's a great circuit, and I'm sure we'll take away more great memories from this year. So, who do you think's going to win? Who do you think's going to win this weekend? And who do you think's going to qualify on pole first, and then who do you think's going to win?
Well, I'm going to link this to our Badger Grand Prix fantasy. On pole, I have Lewis Hamilton.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
I've got Lewis Hamilton winning it from pole.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to have a quick look. I think I've also got Hamilton as the fastest lap as well. I think he's probably just going to dominate this weekend.
Yeah, I think that sort of rings true. I think whoever qualifies first will win the race. Out of the two, it's got to be one of the two Mercedes. They're so quick, and as long as they can stay on track and be reliable, which they showed in testing that they can be. So whoever qualifies pole, I think, wins this one.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stick my neck out, and I'm going to say Rosberg.
I've been umming and ahhing to say will Rosberg win, but earlier I was just thinking, Lewis Hamilton, Rosberg second, Bottas third.
Because Hamilton's won the race once in 2008, which is obviously the year he won his first title.
Yeah.
But he's not won it since.
No.
And it's a bit of a bogey track for him since then. So I'm gonna say Rosberg takes first blood in the season, just to make it interesting and make it tantalising. And who do you think is going to be your surprise package in Melbourne?
In Melbourne, I think who's in the surprise package? That's a toughie. If you got one.
Yeah, I think Lotus are going to be the surprise package here. They've shown good pace in testing, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see one of the guys up in the top 5 there for Lotus. I wouldn't be surprised at all, because obviously the first race of the season throws up some surprises anyway. You see cars falling away or through lack of reliability or crashing or whatever. So keep an eye out for Lotus. I think Grosjean or Maldonado could finish in the top 5 here.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think Lotus will probably fight for the remaining points. I think if I want to go for a surprise, it's going to be either a Marussia who's going to finish the race, one of, not both, just one, and I think Max Verstappen will be on the border of points. I think he'll be like 11th.
Cool. Well, he looks good. Let's give him his due. He looks good. So that's sort of a miniature preview of the race coming up.
Sorry,
in
Dan.
Australia.
How many safety cars do you think there'll be?
You got more questions for me. How many safety cars? I think due to the number of young drivers on the grid, I think we'll see one safety car. I don't think we'll see many more than that. I don't think it'll be too crash heavy.
On my Badger, I've predicted 2. I don't know why.
See, this is why I love Badger GP and I love the fantasy. It's so in depth. It's not just like pick your drivers and let them go. You can pick so many different things.
Yes.
Is there anything else on there that they've got to pick up on?
Well, the only predictions what we've just discussed is the predictions that you make, and then obviously you pick your 3 drivers and cars on top of that. So you pick winner, second, third, fastest lap, pole, and your safety cars. That's 6 predictions you can make.
So who do you think is going to be second and third then? I've said I'll do mine first. I think it's going to be Rosberg, Hamilton, Bottas.
Same for me, but switch those Mercedes around.
Wow. Well, there you go. That is and that's what we'll use from now on. We'll use the Badger GP predictions, sort of to link into what we're going to do for our previews for the races, and we'll give a little bit of in-depth analysis where we can, following up from the races previous. Next, we're going to go into our 2015 season predictions, going on a whole predictions theme. We've got 4 predictions, and at the end of it, we said we were going to do some sort of forfeit or some sort of. We discussed this before the show, didn't we? What we think we're going to do.
Yeah, you had some pretty good ideas with what we could do as a kind of forfeit if we lose.
Yeah. We're not going to put money on this thing, but both of our better halves, our ladies in our lives, are pretty talented face painters. So we think that we'll get them to paint some sort of stupid-looking face on us, and we'll have to walk around for a day. But if you can come up with any other forfeits that we can do, because say there's 4 predictions, so maybe we come up with one for each. So if you come up with any more sort of forfeits that we can do for these, send them over to us on Twitter and Facebook, or email us, email@fivelightspodcast.com, and maybe we'll consider them, as long as they're legal and they are safe, because that's what we are, safety first. Anyway, our 4 predictions for the season, Ben. I'll let you go first on this one. Who's going to be the 2015 World Champion?
All right, I'm going to type this as I go, so apologise for any noise from the mouse.
Oh, you're going to record these, are you?
So I'm going to record these so we have evidence and proof.
And we'll put these on the website, yeah?
Yes, I will be putting the podcast that we do. I'll be putting into a blog form. I haven't got around to it yet, but hopefully before the next one, or by some point next week, I'll have had the first 2/3 episodes in blog form. So you can refer to them quickly throughout the season, because it'll have rules.
Look at this, the only podcast that gives you notes.
Yes. We do try.
Okay, so who's your world champion?
It's going to be a Mercedes.
Okay.
And I'm going to say Lewis emulates last year and gets his 3rd world title. So I'm going to go Lewis Hamilton is the world champion for this season. Because in my heart, I say it's going to be Hamilton, but it's so difficult to get back. I know Vettel's done it recently, but it's very hard to get back to back. I dearly want it to be Hamilton because he is my hero, and I love him very much. Hamilton, if you're listening, I love you, and I would be better for you than Scherzinger. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it, Scherzinger.
Yeah, we're good with pronouncing.
We are.
Ben Agatha Naglu. Anyway, I'm going to go Rosberg, though, just so I can beat you if it's Rosberg.
Okay, I was toying with the idea of Rosberg, but I think Hamilton has all the off-track distractions with his friends in America and things like that, but he's just got that natural raw talent that I can't see Rosberg defeating through homework. So are we both going to say then that Mercedes are going to be the constructors' champion? I think that's what I think so. Yeah, there'll probably be no kind of forfeit on that one.
No, I don't think so.
That's a safe.
The next one might be a bit of a forfeit. Who's going to be your rookie of the year?
Well, the rookies are Verstappen, Sainz, who've got Will Stevens, Roberto Khmeri.
Very good.
Who else have we got? I'm going to start to struggle now. I think that's it. I think.
Well, have you got one picked out?
I'm gonna go Max Verstappen. I think.
Okay.
Unless you want to go Verstappen, and I'm quite happy to go Carlos Sainz.
I'm going to go Carlos Sainz anyway.
Okay.
I know you had a crush on him, so I was expecting you to go Carlos Sainz, but I'm taking Carlos Sainz. I think he's going to be good. He's got good pedigree from GP2, and I just think the season's going to be a bit too long for Verstappen. I know he's sort of done this before, but I think some of these races, when they get hotter and they turn up the heat, and it gets hot, I think he'll struggle slightly. That's not to say that I don't think he'll do a great job. I think he's going to have a great season, and he's definitely one for the future. But I'm going to say Carlos Sainz scores more points. So put them down on the predictions.
They are down in stone.
Face.
Engraved, can't be removed.
There we go. So my last one, a bit of a fun one, really. Surprise of the year. Surprise!
Right. I've got one. It's just how I'm going to actually word it. I don't know if you have one off the top of your head where you can go first.
I do.
Yeah, go for it.
Sauber.
Yeah.
Are going to be my
Sign
surprise
driver.
They're going to have 6 drivers this year. No, I think Sauber could be a sneaky team to sneak in and get some points this year, some good points too, in more than one race. They showed good pace in the test, so I'd keep an eye, because Felipe Nasr is a good driver, and he showed some good pace. If they can keep the car on the track, watch out for Sauber. Just keep an eye out for Sauber. I think they're going to score. Oh, should I give a prediction of how many points I think they'll score?
That or how many? So they're all standings or.
I think they will score 20 points this year.
20 points.
It's more than they got last year.
Yes.
But I think they'll
they
get
got
at
0
least...
last year.
Yeah.
So they can. At what point would be an improvement?
I think they're going to get at least 20 points.
At least. Okay, I'll put at least.
At least 20 points. So they've got to score 20 points or over for that to come in.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's no right or wrong on this one. You just have to come up with something. So you word yours however you're going to word it.
It's a fun one. I think you'll enjoy it. Pastor Maldonado
won't crash.
No. Will have more crashes or incidents.
Wow.
And that doesn't involve just in the race. That involves throughout the whole weekend, so practice through till the race.
Okay.
Then he'll have more crashing incidents than he will points finishes.
Wow. So you reckon
he's going to crash more than he's going to finish in the points?
Okay. I can see that one actually coming off, but it's
a kind of.
We've already crashed in testing, for crying out loud. So
that's one.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
We'll start
from
tomorrow morning, FP1, till lights out in Abu Dhabi.
All right. I see that.
It's a little fun one, but I think it could pay off.
Okay. Cool. I like that one. That's good. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on it. So my surprise of the year was that Sauber will score at least 20 points, and yours was that Pastor Maldonado will crash more times than he will finish in the points this season.
Yes.
Okay. I like it. Maybe we'll come up with some more as the season progresses.
Yeah, definitely.
To add to that, because these are quite good, and they're good to keep the season fresh. And stay tuned on Badger GP. Get over there now. Go over there now. Oh, not if you're driving, of course, but if you're able to get to a computer, or you can download the app as well. They have an app that's available. In the App Store or in the Google Play Store, whatever it's called. Download the app. Sign up. If you can't find our league, send us a message and we will invite you in. But that sort of sums up our predictions for that one. I think that's pretty much it for this episode, isn't it, Ben? I think we're pretty much tied up.
Yeah.
We're a little bit shorter than we did last time, and we were still up 45 minutes, but they'll come down as the season goes on, depending on what news obviously emerges.
Had a lot of news to get to.
Yeah, we have indeed. I just want to obviously say thanks to the Badger GP for letting us shout them out and for letting us sign up and do all that sort of stuff, and for retweeting us the other day. Thank you to everyone who sent in suggestions for the intro music. I hope you like our intro music. Again, that came from bensound.com. If you head over there, they've got loads of tracks if you want to use them for your multimedia, for your videos for YouTube or any other like Vimeo. If you've got stuff like this, they do loads of free downloads. You just have to quote the guy, or you can buy credits and stuff like that. So head over to bensound.com. He's got loads of really good tracks on there, actually, some really, really good stuff. So head over there, and he provided our theme tune, which is called Happy Rock. So very happening hip tune, man. Yeah, I'm bringing all these old things back. I love it. You can follow us on Twitter at 5 Lights Podcast. You can find us on Facebook. You can email us, email@fivelightspodcast.com, and our website is www.fivelightspodcast.com. I said, if you think you can rework the logo, do so. Download this on iTunes. We've been accepted by iTunes, Ben. They have listened and they have accepted us, so we are now available on iTunes. The link to our iTunes, our Podbean, and our SoundCloud account will go on Facebook, Twitter, and on our website as well. So you can get us on 3 different platforms. So there's no goddamn excuse, goddamn it, for not downloading. So download and listen wherever you are. Share it. We're going to start running a thing. Probably next episode we'll start doing this a little bit more, called Find a Fan. So share the podcast and let's try and introduce some of our friends who think that Formula 1 is boring into our world, into the world of Formula 1, because it's awesome. So let's do that. So we'll talk more about that in the next episode. That is about it. Ben, any final thoughts to wrap up with? There's got to be about 12 hours until the first practice.
Try and get as much sleep as you can. I'm going to, but enjoy the first race because I can't wait. I'll be watching practice before I leave work for work tomorrow. So.
Oh man, I'm so excited. I sat and looked at the. By the way, just very quickly before we sign up, Lewis Hamilton was the oldest driver today in the press conference, right? Yeah. And it seems like 5 minutes ago he came into the sport. Anyway, mental. That's a mental aside. As Ben says, get as much sleep as you can. Set your alarm clock, and as well. I keep remembering things as we go. We're going to be doing a fun sort of little poll on our Facebook page and on our Twitter. We're going to put up 3 theme tunes from past Formula 1 shows, so the BBC theme, the ITV themes from the past, the Sky Sports theme, and we want you to vote on which you think is your favourite theme from a Formula 1 programme. So we'll put them up, vote, we'll do hashtags, all the information will be on our Facebook and Twitter page. Follow us on there to find out more, and we'll be doing these polls each week. As I said, we'll talk more about that next week because I'm conscious that we're running on nearly to an hour again, so we will wrap these up quicker. Anyway.
And send us your Grand Prix selfies.
Yes, send us your Grand Prix selfies. Someone mentioned Ben. I have been Daniel Herrick. Ben has been Ben Herrick, haven't you?
As always.
As always. Thank you very much for downloading. Thank you very much for listening. Get some sleep and enjoy the first race of the season. The 5 lights are on. The 5 lights are out. Let's go racing. See you later.
Bye, guys.